Now that we have been introduced to how we can use content-aware fill to improve our photographs, I want to take a look at a little bit more of an advanced example and here talk about how we can also use content-aware cropping. Before we get to the photograph, let's first talk about photography. Often the photographic process is like this. We're out with a friend, we capture this image on the left first, and it's just too cluttered. It isn't a very strong portrait because we can see cars in the foreground, some of the background. So we get a little bit closer, we recompose and create a stronger frame like the one over here. Now, this frame is stronger, but then sometimes maybe we get back and we realize, you know what? I kind of had the vision for this image and I just wanted her with this one lamppost. So I want to get rid of the one in the background. Also, some of the other items that we have here in the frame. Well, to do that, we can use content-aware fill. We'll duplicate the background layer and go ahead and double-click this layer name and call this one Cleanup. Next, we'll choose the lasso tool. You can do that by tapping the L key or click on the tool there in the Tools panel. And as we've seen before, when it comes to making a selection, often you want to get close to the area that you're working on, or you want to make a selection which is just a little bit bigger than the object that you want to remove. So here I'm making a selection in this way. Next, we go to Edit and we choose Fill. This opens up our Fill dialog and then click OK. If it doesn't work perfectly the first time with your selection tool, just go ahead and make a selection again and go to Edit and Fill. As we've seen before, often what you'll need to do is go through a couple times in order to accomplish this. We've also talked about how when you work on an area like this down here and you realize, you know what, there's some other things I want to get rid of, you just press and hold a modifier key. Remember that one? It's the Shift key. So you press and hold the Shift key and then make multiple selections here. Going to remove a little bit of graffiti, a little bit of trash. I also want to remove this electrical box or whatever this is over here on this area. And again, go to Edit and choose Fill or use a shortcut. That's Shift F5. This will open up the dialog and we click OK. And what that will then do is allow us to clean up all of those areas. Now, to see the final results or to exit out of this, essentially, we have to go to Select and choose Deselect. That then deactivates all the selections. And here we can see, okay, yeah, we have a much different photograph. Now, let's say after having done that, we realize that, you know what, I also want to change the composition. And we can do that by using what's called content-aware cropping. When it comes to working with images with backgrounds, this particular technique can really help out. What you do is you select the crop tool. Then in the options bar above, you want to turn Delete Crop Pixels off. And you want to turn on Content Aware. Now, Content Aware essentially fills in gaps. So let's say, for example, that we have this image here and we realize, you know what, I kind of want to have more space on the left. And we click and drag the crop area outside of the edge of the frame. There aren't any pixels there at all. It's empty. It's blank. Well, if Content Aware is turned on, what we can do is then apply the crop by pressing Return on a Mac or Enter on Windows. And what it will do is it will fill in that area. We could do the same thing over here on this side. So I'm going to go ahead and click and drag this out a little bit and then press Enter or Return. And what we'll see there is it's built out some more space over there on that side. And then just to zoom out a little bit, the lamp post is too close to the top of the frame, so I need a little bit more headroom. So I'll click and drag up and it will fill in that area as well. Now, in this case, let's go ahead and just do this a little bit more here. I'm going to click and drag this out just a little bit further there so we can really see what's happening. What we can see is that this was the original composition. Let me zoom in on this, and you can see how that has now been changed. Maybe this particular zoom here gives you that insight. And essentially what it's done is it's invented content, it's continued the brick wall there and also over here, and it's done it in a pretty decent way. Now, one of the questions I had when I first saw this was, how in the world does that work? And then second, how do I achieve the best results? Well, like we've seen before with Content Aware, if we use this and we drag out really, really far, so we have a huge gap and we work with these big chunks all at once and hope for the best, it typically doesn't work out very well. Can you see how it brought over the lamp over here and things just fell apart in this area over here as well? That being said, we could work with this and maybe use some of our other retouching tools to clean that up. But the whole point is that what tends to happen is when you want to make adjustments, making just smaller little incremental adjustments and building those up often leads to better results than just clicking and dragging and having huge gaps you're trying to fill all at once. All right, well, with this image, let's zoom in on this one a little bit more so we can see what we've done here. We worked on removing the lamppost in the background. We used a lasso tool and we used good old content-aware fill right there. And then after we did that, we cleaned up a shadow and some trash, another object. And then last but not least, we explored how we can use the crop tool and take advantage of the same technology, the same content-aware technology inside of this tool here, which can help when we're working with backgrounds. Now, one of the things you may be thinking is, okay, Chris, well, I shoot in the studio. Will this work with studio backgrounds? Definitely. It works with all sorts of different types of backgrounds. The most important thing here is the technique and looking at how we can now combine a couple of techniques together in order to achieve results like we've done here. And here it is, our before and then now the after.